What's going on, guys? I'm Kyle Clay Richards from Abstract Sports, where we're bringing sports back to life by looking at the game from abstract yet popular angles. And on this day, the day that Kobe's numbers, yes, I said plural numbers, go up to the rafters, I wanted to tell you guys the story about how the Black Mamba himself inspired me to start Abstract Sports. Let's go! Alright, so before I dive into this story, I want to tell you guys a little bit about this article I found yesterday that really inspired me to want to make this video in the first place. So I don't know if you guys are Lakers fans or if you follow them at all, but their sideline reporter, his name is Mike Trudell, he did an interview with Kobe Bryant before tonight where his numbers are going to get retired. Kobe had some very interesting things to say, and a lot of the things he says here I've mentioned before about how, Kobe's going from being a superstar basketball player to being this creative genius off the court all of a sudden, where he's helping direct and produce these animated shorts and stuff. You'll want to check out his animated short called Dear Basketball. I'll drop a link in the description. Be sure to check it out after this video. But some of the things Kobe had to say had me lit up. Like, oh my gosh, I could be working for Kobe Inc. someday. Here's what he had to say. First of all, Mike Trudell started out with some small talk, and then he gets into a question where he asks, how have you evolved as a dad, and how has that grown together as you enter this stage of your professional life? And Kobe says, I had to figure out how to teach. Parenting is teaching. How do you teach your children to be upstanding citizens? How do you teach them that they can accomplish what they set out to accomplish? How do you teach is the most important thing. But stories certainly help. Even me, my kids can get tired of what I have to say and what V has to say. So V is his wife. So I figured out the best way to do that is to hide teaching in entertainment, where they can see a video and learn and understand complex messages from animation or song, or they can watch one of the projects we do, like The Golden Democracy, another one of his animated shorts, or Dear Basketball, as I mentioned before. They can learn something about the game of basketball, but hidden inside both of those are really powerful life messages. And that's really what Abstract Sports is all about. It's looking at the game differently to pull life lessons from it that you can use in your own profession. I think that is extremely valuable because sports are a very human thing, and Kobe is so right. There's so much you can learn from organized sport, whether you're a fan or a player or a coach or just an observer. You can compare things from sports to anything around you. And that's why I think sports are so important. Mike Trudell goes on to ask, he starts out with a little statement. He says, I've always felt like sports is a great metaphor for life, but without the consequences of politics or war, where you can learn about what hard work and teamwork, those are effort and teamwork, those are intangibles I have in my set of 10, although I believe there are more. But he says you can learn about what hard work and teamwork can do for you, what winning and losing means, and so on. From playing at the highest level possible, and now as a storyteller, how do you look at sports? And this is where my mind starts to blow up, all right? So Kobe goes on to say, absolutely, because there's no greater metaphor for life than sports. The fact that we can have a collection of athletes that come from different backgrounds with different beliefs, different political views, but yet can figure out a way to understand each other, how to work well with each other towards a common goal. There's no better metaphor for life than that. So as a storyteller, it's about finding those little nuggets and pulling those out and having the story bring that to life. That right there is where my brain blows up, because just a few podcasts ago on the Abstract Sports podcast, I'm going to dig it up and I'm going to drop a link in the comments below, or not in the comments, a link in the description below at the exact point in the video where Micah and I are talking about this. But Micah and I have used sports as a metaphor for life in a different way. We talked about how, basketball could be like a metaphor for the United States, where each team is a different state and it's governed by an administration, and there's certain rules that all teams have to follow, just like certain rules that all states in the U.S. have to follow. But then each state has their own individual rules, and those individual rules could be compared to like plays that they run, different styles of offense and defense. And they're all identified by diversity of players in, ethnicity, race, religion, whatever. And they also all have specialty positions, whether they're a point guard, shooting guard, whatever. Those are their careers. And so there's so many different layers of the metaphor there that you can dig into. And I'm going to leave that link for you guys so you can explore what we had to say. We kind of go all over the place. We talk about other sports as well, so you want to give that a look. Guys, the tagline for Abstract Sports is bringing sports back to life, because we're trying to take those things that you can relate to your own professional career from sports. So, taking leadership on a basketball court and the different communication that goes with that, how can you apply that to your job where you are? Or how do you work as a team where you are compared to how an NBA team works together, or a football team, or a soccer team, So all of these things relate to real life. And the thing is that Kobe's relating them through really impactful, rich stories. And I'm doing it just through little tiny nuggets of leadership. Yeah, it's easy. But leadership is such a big deal everywhere you go. And so it just blows my mind that for the last 4 years, I've been thinking in this certain way that sports have this other layer to them that a lot of people don't see. And Kobe's, now that he's done with basketball, is starting to hit on these points that I've been seeing for the last 4 years. That's crazy to me. Kobe, you got to hire me, man. Are you stealing my ideas? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I can't compete with you by any means, but put me on your team, man. I bring something to the table. He continues to say, in this way, we can reach not only the average basketball or sports fan, but also those who don't watch sports. And that's just because of the humanity within sports and these things that can relate to everybody. You can make anybody a fan of the game if you get them to look at the right area. He says, like Dear Basketball, which is a basketball film, but yet I have people come up to me and say, I wasn't a basketball fan at all. I wasn't thinking about basketball, but that film moved me. If we can do that, I feel like we're doing our jobs. And that's kind of what I aim to do with Abstract Sports and other projects that spin off of this. Mike Trudell goes on to ask, because of all you accomplished and what you built, you can get into any room. How do you now maximize what you built as an athlete and personality as you move forward? And Kobe says, oh, guys, this is where I get antsy, because this moved me last night. I was shaking. Kobe's answer was, we have a very, very solid team here. What we do is build and find partners that believe in the core philosophy that sports is the greatest metaphor for life. Guys, what have I been saying? That's what I've been saying the entire time. Look at our slogan, like I just mentioned. If they believe that and can see the potential in that, they will be great partners. Bro, get at me. From that standpoint, we have a great team of young creators, artists, filmmakers. Go out there and create the work. Kobe's like this idea man. He comes up with all these stories for people to go and build for him, to put it in a light that other people can understand it. That is so inspiring, man. He's bringing a team of people, creative people around him in an area that he's probably at least a little bit uncomfortable with. I mean, he's been a basketball player for his entire life, basically. And now he's jumping into this creative field where he's hired a bunch of people who've been looking for this moment. I wonder if, these little life lessons he's teaching, I wonder if there's a nonprofit sector that he has started or not. I would love to get involved with that, because I feel like I have something to say about it. And, from a different perspective. And I use sports as a medium for me to get through things. And I learned a lot of life lessons there. I learned that I can make friends through sports, and it can be a great support system. I learned how to work as a team. I learned how to lead a team as a point guard. I learned how to develop my game. And Kobe also inspired me how to try to be the best I can be through work ethic and just effort and trying your best. And not only did I try to do that in basketball, but I try to do that outside of it as well. So when I decided to give up the game, I focus on the next task at hand, and that is find out what I want to do for a living. And I worked my hardest to get to a position where I can improve upon that by going to college. That's just a little bite of this article. I had it cached on my computer, so I was able to pull it back up. I tried to visit it again today from their homepage, and the link wasn't working, but I'll test it out, and I'm going to try to drop it in the description below so you can see where I got all this great content. So to bring it back around, I have to tell you how Kobe Bryant inspired me to start Abstract Sports. And that kind of relates to the last point I made, where as a young kid, I saw him come into the NBA at the age of 18. And when he came in the league and when I first noticed him, I was 8 years old. And I was like, holy crap, that could be me in 10 years. I better start working on my game. So he inspired me to play basketball as often as I could. Even when it was so cold out, my fingers wouldn't move. But looking back, like, that kind of stuff is what kept me going. That's what kept me on the right path. And so he inspired me in a way that taught me how to stick to it and try to be the best you can be at what you do. And so when I stopped focusing on basketball in 9th grade and started focusing on a professional career in design, I took that same drive and passion I had for basketball from my childhood and applied it to that. And man, did it take me places. To come full circle, it has me looking back on how sports have impacted me. And I feel like there's a lot that we can learn from sports. And therefore, I started Abstract Sports to start conversations around those things that can reveal the human characteristics within sports that can relate to everybody, not just sports fans, like Kobe says. So go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you like what I'm talking about. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I can tell you now that Kobe has been a huge inspiration to me. You know, for the longest time, I've always been like, when I meet Kobe, what am I going to say? Like, am I going to be one of those super fans that just doesn't know what to say and just freezes or what? But after reading more and more about what he's doing outside of basketball, I have a feeling that when I meet this guy, I'm going to be like, it's a pleasure to meet you. Let's get to work. There's some stuff we can do, man. Let's go. I hope this opens your eyes a little bit to Kobe as a person and a little bit about the inspiration of, why Abstract Sports is called Abstract Sports and the importance within sports in general. So, well, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also tune into the Abstract Sports podcast every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Eastern. Most of the time we go live on Facebook at facebook.com/abstractsports. I'll drop a link in the description below. You're going to want to like our page and follow us there so that when we go live, you can participate in the conversation, talk about all things sports, but especially stuff like what I've covered today. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you have a good rest of your night. I'll see you in the next one. We'll be right back.